start. Randomly, while this is on here, I don't know if you saw, I sent an email to the faculty, but you guys get lots of emails, I know. I started the Brightspace Blitz Challenge with students this week. So it's 5 weeks of things just to get them to log on to Brightspace and look at stuff. So this is here for everybody because I couldn't figure out how to make it show up just for students.
Okay.
So it looks like they got it done. But so I'm gonna go ahead and so
Can I ask you a
our
couple
first
questions before we start?
Oh sure, Christina, what's up?
So I know Moodle's gonna, be gone. We're gonna still have time though to upload. Like if I want to upload my course now into Moodle, into Brightspace for next fall, like I'll have a chance to do that?
Yes, so basically all of the fall courses are already in here. So if you're on Brightspace, you have a fall version of your course. So like at the end of the semester for this fall, like you could take your Moodle course and back it up and put it into this fall version.
Okay, that's good to know.
Yeah, so you already have a course shell for that.
Thank you.
Yep, and then if there's anything else that you're like, oh, I have this, but it's not in Brightspace yet, like because we only have fall courses in here, you could say, oh, can you make me a shell for this? Because I want to import it over and start to work on it.
Okay, and when can we start working on our spring course? And when will that happen, like soon?
Yes, the spring courses should populate in like the next 2 weeks.
Okay, that's great, thanks.
Yeah. All right, so just as a quick review, accessing courses was our first thing up. So we have either our waffle icon at the top that will show you all of your courses that you're enrolled in as an instructor, and you'll be able to click on them here. The other option, if you scroll down and you want to look at like past courses, we have this My Courses widget. So you can see all of your past courses. Eventually there'll be more than just fall 2020 here, like the spring 2021 will show up. So if you wanted to see multiple, you'll be able to do that down here also. But most of the time, I just go through the handy dandy waffle icon to get to my course. So the next part I have to talk to you about is making course announcements. And so for us, the course announcements, I mean, they work the same, like they go out to all your students, but they work a little bit different in that it doesn't live in the discussion area. So like right now, the course announcements we have in Moodle are just a special discussion forum. Like it's a forum that's set up on our side, so that way it's only one way you post to it and the students don't reply to it, but they can get notified about them. Here, discussion or announcements live on your course homepage. So as soon as you log into your course, they are here on this page. You don't have to go anywhere to do any of them, and it won't show up on this discussion area. You don't need to make a forum about it. So if you're going to transfer a course over from Moodle, Moodle's going to say, it's gonna add a discussion forum called course announcements, and you can just delete that because the announcements will actually live here on the course homepage. So what happens when you post an announcement is it'll show up like this, and it has an X in the upper corner. So they can look at the announcement and see it. After they've read it, they can hit the X. If they don't hit the X, every time they come back to this page, the announcement will still be there. So if I hit the X, it'll say, oh, that's dismissed. So now I can see like you'll see my notification come up down here at the bottom that I dismissed that announcement. So that's me saying I've read it. I don't need to see that one again. If they ever need to go back, or if you need to go back and see past announcements, we can hit our little context menu, which is the arrow next to the word, and it will show us different things. So for students, it'll just say like, show all announcements. But for us, it says go to announcements tool. So you can click on it and it will take you to all of the announcements that you've made. And you can see the date that they were made or the date that they were published at. And then you can see how they all say dismissed here because I hit that X. So if there's one that I'm like, oh, I didn't mean to dismiss that, you can actually restore it. And then when you go back to your course homepage, it will show up for you again there. But that's just on an individual. So that's like your students doing that also, or you doing that based on whichever. So that's just personal preference. So like the dismiss doesn't delete it. It doesn't stop students from seeing it. It's just how you want to look at your screen. I don't like to see the video of myself all the time. So I like to get rid of that one. So this is what it'll look like the first time you log in, and you can go ahead and just click create an announcement. And then it works just like an email, or like it does in Moodle currently, where you add your subject, right? And then down here in this content area, you can put all sorts of things. Part of the problem that we had before with like the Moodle embedded videos, like those 2-minute snippets, is that it wasn't super compatible with lots of different devices. Or if students got like a notification like on their phone and they looked at the email didn't play or like the video wouldn't play on a mobile device until they got to a computer. Whereas here, these ones are much more mobile friendly and will play everywhere. So just as a friendly reminder of all the tools that we have here that you could add, we have the insert stuff button, so that play icon, so you could add links to files. You could add that video note right in, and remember, once again, the video note is your actual picture playing in here with just like a short thing that you record. If you have multiple ones of the same section, like multiple sections of the same class, and you do like similar announcements, there's the video note search. So like if you made it for one, you could actually say, you could just hit the search button to see all of them. But if like, you know, you have a name. So like I do video responses to students and I name them me to whatever their last name is. So if for some reason I have to search for them, I could. But, or sometimes initials, there you go. Different things. But that way you could use the same announcement for multiple sections. If you're like, this is just a video of the topic for the week, and you know, I have English 101 and English and like 2 sections of it, you don't have to do double recordings. We also have just a regular file icon right here. So you could do my computer URL, course offering files again. We're going to talk more about the course offering files later. And then my favorite, the quick links. So, you know, you can add a quick link to anything in your course, even another announcement. So like if you're making, like if you made an announcement on Monday, you could, and it's Friday, like today I could say like, hey, announcements. Oh, I don't have any announcements not dismissed. So, but you can always open a new one. That's a bad example. But I could go to like assignments and say, hey, don't forget to do this assignment. So when they click that link, it will automatically take them to the assignment or whatever you're referencing. Then all the regular items for how you want it to look and feel, font, family, size, color, you know, graphs if you need them, all the fun functions and such. Woohoo. I love functions. You could do tables. The tables have a lot more properties here than they did in Moodle. So you could use those, you know, cut, paste. Down here we have, I think this one's a spell checker with the letter. So if you wanted to spell check it, you could. And then over here with the I is the accessibility checker. So you can always check it and see if it's accessible in terms of like basic online web standards. So you don't actually need to know what they are because it will tell you. Then down below here, you have availability. So the thing to remember with Brightspace in general, that an end date is when things stop being visible to students. So like you can schedule it using the start date. I like to always show start date just so students know when it was posted, and you can schedule it for later. So like I could schedule this to go out, you know, on the 16th and pick a time. For those in the OPI, I know I said I like to schedule everything like for like my general weekly announcements. So that way I don't have to worry about that part and I can just use other random announcements to touch bases with them. But the end date does make it not visible. So unless you have like some good reason to make it not visible. I don't recommend using it because students like to go back and look at past announcements. And then you can still do attachments, add a file, record audio, record video, all items. And then down here, we do have this additional release conditions. So if you wanted to send an announcement just to students who did poorly on a quiz and you're gonna hold a remediation session, you could set it up within a release condition. So I could say, let me go to this score a quizzes. I'm gonna choose score on a quiz. Say for this quiz, they got less than or equal to a 60 and hit create. So now only students that meet that requirement are going to get this course announcement. So you can kind of use it to target areas like that. There's also somewhere, but there's a lot of different items in here that you could tag it by and say, so you could do it by assignments. Under class list, we have group enrollment. So if you're going to use groups in your course for whatever reason, you could have an announcement go to just a specific group if they're kind of doing different things or if it's about their project. So lots of that. Go ahead.
I was going to ask you a question just about as far as like integrating other learning management systems into Brightspace, do you feel like it's more user-friendly than Moodle? Or like right now in my class, I'm using McGraw-Hill's Connect, and I'm kind of just doing it separately. So some of these things like the quiz equal to 60%, like that wouldn't necessarily apply to me. Do you think it's going to be easier to integrate Connect into Brightspace?
It depends on how their LTI is set up.
Okay.
So like some are just easier than others.
Okay.
I'll say mine, so I use Newton Alta for mine, and Newton Alta worked, it was a lot easier here
Okay.
than it was
Moodle.
in Moodle.
Okay.
It took me less steps for sure.
Okay.
But no guarantees on that one, Theo.
Okay. That's fine.
Yes. Even like a fun one. So if you are still separate, you could do it by content. So you could do it, say like maybe they haven't visited a certain content topic. So like they haven't looked at the key terms and definitions. Okay. So I could send those people an announcement. That's like.
Okay. For the grading part of it, like as long as I'm, like right now I'm using Connect, but I'm using my Moodle gradebook.
Mm-hmm.
As long as I had, like maybe I could still use that as long as I was putting my grades into Brightspace? Yeah. Okay, okay.
So I'm gonna get rid of those. And we do have the option here that we didn't have in Moodle to save as a draft. So like if you're getting through it or like something comes up and you have to leave in the middle of it, you can save it as a draft. Oh, there has to be something here. You can save as draft and then it'll show up here in the list as a draft.
Okay.
So, and then you can go back to edit it. And when you edit it, you'd have the option to publish or schedule. It'll say publish if it's a now one, and it'll say schedule if you picked a date in the future. Oh no, I lied. It just says schedule. I just make things up in my head. I'm sorry. But there we go. My students are gonna be like, what just happened? But any questions on our announcement tool?
Nope.
All right, they can choose to get notifications about them. So this is something that I will say is different than Moodle. Moodle allowed us to force everybody to get notifications. At this point, that's in Brightspace's development, but it's not here. So we're encouraging all of the students to go on and either get the app, because then they can get push notifications from the app, to register their mobile number so they can get text, but then they can also go through and say what they want to get notified for. So it's on, that's part of the reason why it's on the home page for Brightspace. Like at the top, it says like your notifications, and it's one of our Brightspace Blitz challenges in a couple weeks here. But it's definitely something that you'll also want to encourage your students to do until we have that control. Any questions on the announcements?
Nope.
All right, next up, everybody's favorite, the gradebook. All right, so I recommend setting up your gradebook at the beginning, especially if you are a categories person. If you're not a categories person, it's easier to do later because you just do points and easy peasy. But so one of the cool things that Brightspace has is our setup wizard. So you will click on grades and then you can click on setup wizard. So, and it starts, it says, welcome to the setup wizard. The first time you do it, it won't have all of this. It'll just have start the wizard. But at any point in time, even like mid-semester after you've started, if you've tried something and it's not working out the way you want and you want to adjust it, you can come to this page and click start. And it will take you through it. So it gives you two different options of what you want to do, weighted or points. And then for anyone who's super unique and uses the formula and you do some things weighted and some things points and yada yada, you can actually do your own custom formula. If you are that person, submit a help desk ticket so we can help you with the formula for your course because it's going to be unique to everybody. So we're not covering that here. But so I'm going to leave it on weighted and you just go through and hit continue. It says 7 stages. The 7th stage is just a review. So really through these 6 pages of what you would like to do. So you can choose if they have a calculated final grade or adjusted final grade, whichever you want to do, automatically release the final grade if you want to check that. So calculated final grade is exactly what the system calculates that they will see versus the adjusted final grade. You can say like, oh, you know, they have an 88, but maybe they asked a lot of questions, so I'm going to give them the 90 type thing. So those type of differences there. For me, especially for this first time around, I've opted to go with the calculated final grade for what they see. Plus it's easy because you don't have to go and like do the adjusted every time. And then I have automatically release final grades. So they see their grades basically throughout the whole course. I don't know everybody else's personal preference, but I like it because I never get questions about grades or like what my grade is or where I am or anything like that because they just see it. But you'll go through, you'll hit continue. If anything comes up and you're not sure what it means, hit the question mark and it'll come up with a little pop-up that'll explain it more to you so you can help decide. I have the automatically keep final grade updated also checked. The more I can automate, the better. Less management later. But so you'll go through, you pick all of the settings, choose a default grade system. Most of us are going to be percentage unless, you know, you have a pass-fail course. But most of it will be percentage. And I have big hopes, guys, to see if we can have these grades automatically pushed to the registrar's office.
That would be great.
So as long as you keep this, you will just be able to, as long as your grades are done by the due date, we'll just do like a bulk export, import it on the other side and say, grades are here, yay. So that's my plan. So managing view display options, how many decimal places, like very specific things. This last page is everything that you want the students to see. So do you want them to see 2 decimal places? Do you want them to see none? If there's text, how many characters? I just picked 50. I don't know why. But, and then if you want them to see their final grade calculation throughout. So I say yes to all of these things. And the nice thing about like, so you do all these selections here, when you set up an assignment, it'll give you a preview of what the student will see based on these selections. So I think that's helpful. But then you'll hit continue, and then it'll just have you review everything that you picked on all of the previous 6 pages, and you say finish. and that sets up your calculation. When you're done, it will take you to this page. So create a new grade category item, a new grade item, import grades, new grade scheme, manage, all the fun things that you can do with grades. Import grades, if anybody's still in Excel and wants to like use an Excel like gradebook. So like even if we set up the Brightspace push to the registrar for grades and you keep an Excel gradebook, you could still do that and then just import at the end. So that way they'd still do the push with everybody else's. If you are a weighted person, obviously you're going to be right into create a new grade category. And the thing to remember is you can get to all of these items just from the enter grades, manage grades, and schemes tabs. So like, remember like when I first was on my setup page, I didn't have those links. I just had the list of everything. So I can get to everything that was just listed in these 3 other areas. So the schemes is just grading styles, right? So the pass fail I actually added. So I said I want something to be pass fail. So if you have a pass fail course, we can do that. If you don't like the basic percentages, we could do something else. At this point, I don't recommend that too much, differentiating from what's already put there for you, aside from the pass fail. Then we have manage grades. All right, so manage grades is where you can go ahead and build things. You can add the categories if you're a categories person. Even if you're a points person, you can have categories to keep them separated. But it'll list everything. So like you can see here's like these gray bars are my categories. And it says the weight of the category, and then I have everything listed in that category. So let's see. So if things are not in the right order, you can click on them and move them. There's a up here in more actions. You can reorder the assignments. So it says, you know, 1, 2, 3, 4. You could click and say, I want this one to be second. Now they'll change and it will adjust based on whichever order you'd like them to be in. One of the things to remember though is that the reorder just allows you to reorder within the categories, or you can reorder your categories themselves. So like if I were to hit my arrows here to close them. So here's my categories. I can tell they're a category because they have the blue shading or whatever shading it is, grayish, versus these items are not categories. They are just things like assignments that didn't get categorized. The reorder doesn't allow you to put them in a category. The reorder is just changing the order of where they're at. So let's say I wanted my discussions to be first though. I could do that and change that whole category so it all goes up at once, and I hit save. And now I'll see the discussions at the top. If you have something that's not in a correct category, I can edit that item to put it in a category. And we're going to talk more about these settings next, I think it's next week. I don't know. In an upcoming week, we talk about assignments and discussions and more of the things that students are going to interact with. But so yeah, I can change the category, hit save and close. And now that item, chapter 4, part 1 is listed in the correct category. So it does update that. Now for all of the things, like adding a category from this page, you can do new category and add your categories. When you guys are starting out, it'll actually be a lot easier because there won't be all this junk in here. Unless you do have, if you import from Moodle and you also choose to import the grades, then you might have to do a little bit of work. But if I go here, oh, I keep forgetting. I think I turned the gradebook off in my sandbox. Or I'm a student in my sandbox. I'm a student in my sandbox. That's why. Yeah.
So the sandbox is where we could go play around, right?
Yes. So like it's not attached to anything, like students won't see it. It's just.
But if I start putting stuff into my shell that's in Brightspace now, students will see it?
Yes, if they were to log in and look at it, but we can also set it so it's not active and then they won't
Okay.
see it. So, and I can go over that process as well. Here, let me go so I don't have all that junk in there. All right, so after you go through your setup wizard, the first time you go in, your grade book will just look like this. Everything automatically has a final calculated grade and final adjusted based on your selections, those two at least, I think. So when you're ready to add categories, you'll go to new, category, and then you can name it, you know, participation. You can put the short name that you want to show up in the grade book. You can decide if you're going to give it a description or not. Can exceed 100 points, yes or no. Exclude from final grade calculation. So if it's something that you just wanted to track, maybe you do give it as bonus points later or for that adjusted piece, and you just want to have a formal track but not actually keep it in the final grade, you could choose to do that. And then for categories, you have a couple options for how you want that category to be treated. So distribute points across all items. I think I have this one set up as points. So you could either leave it where the points that you set up on each item are the ruling thing. So like if you have a participation for class that's worth 100 points, and then you have a participation for Zoom that's worth 50 points, if you were to say distribute points across all items, it makes them weighted the same. So it'll treat them both like, you know, 100-point items, versus if you leave that unchecked, it'll take the points that you actually put in. So the in-class participation would be worth twice as much as the Zoom participation for the 100 and the 50 points. And then display options. So the things that you checked from the grade book will show up here as defaulted. If you want to change them, you can click the override button and say they don't need the grade scheme symbol, they just need to see the points. You can choose to show the average to the class. You can choose to show the distribution of grades to the class if you want to, whatever your preference is, but you can hit save and close if that's your last category, or save and new if you have other categories to add. So, and then we have our handy dandy category. Any questions so far?
Nope.
There's lots of things on this, I know. The grade books can get a lot. So there are two options that you have to do here. So one is that you can add items directly to the grade book. So, and you can choose what type of item it is. Now, I would only recommend going this route for items that don't have another place in the course at all. So if it is an in-person course and you're going to give them a participation grade, like for speaking in class, I would do that with this new item feature. Everything else, I think it's easier to do the grade when you set the item up. So like when I add an assignment, I also add the grade item.
Okay.
And it's all from the assignment page. Like you don't have to come back to the grade book later to put it in the grade book. So, but you could do that. There's also just a comment section. It makes me think of like a K-12 report card, but also could be beneficial because there's a text grade item. So it's just to provide comments if you wanted them to like see it. But you can pick whatever it is, what type of grade item you would like, you know, name it. Put it in a category. So like we already made a participation category. The nice thing here is that at any point, if like you forgot to add a category or you thought you already added it, but it's not showing up in the list, you can just hit the new category button and add one, right within here. Description, once again, you know, how many points it is this a bonus assignment? Do you want to exclude it? Default scheme is a percentage, and then you can add rubrics. And if you don't have a rubric, so you could click add rubric. So if you have rubrics in your class, you'll be able to select them. If you want to make a rubric, you can just say create a new rubric. So it's a very linear design process. So you don't have to go make all your rubrics first. You don't make them after. You can just make it while you're going through and setting up your assignment. So you could go through, and of course, they're pretty easy. We'll talk more about them in later weeks with the actual assignments. But the nice thing about them is you can have like a general rubric here. There's also an overall score that you can give them at the end based on points. You can override their point scores when you're scoring. So lots of different things there. But I'm just going to go ahead and hit save and close. And now I'll see that one item in my sandbox. You can delete items. If you want to delete them, you have to click delete first. And then it'll ask you to select what you want to delete. And then you can delete it. It'll give you warnings if needed. It cannot be undone. Delete. And then voila. Any other questions on the gradebook for now?
Nope, I don't think so.
All right. On the enter grades page, you'll see anywhere that there is a hidden, like the I is crossed out, it's hidden from students. Anywhere, yeah, I think I have this one not to show final calculated, just adjusted. But if you wanted to enter grades, you can click on the context menu for it. You could enter the grades, you can edit the assignment. View statistics is cool. You can see like statistics for things after you have all the grades entered. You can import grades. You can export the grades to a spreadsheet if you'd like to keep it for your records. You can even switch to spreadsheet view. So you can go ahead, and spreadsheet view is nice because now I can just go through and click and adjust everything like all at once. But yeah, so you can see I gave this person a pass. So now their grade says they have 100, the fails are zeros, but I could go through and say, all right, they have a 10 out of 10. Maybe this person, their final adjusted, I give them a 7 out of 10, 6 out of 10. But fun times in the gradebook. Switch back to standard view, and then it gives it back to you in an area where it's not editable easily. So you can't accidentally mess things up from this page. Type over somebody's grade. And it does, if you have the color schemes turned on, that's why all of mine turned different colors when I entered these. Obviously not a requirement. I just like to do it because I like visual cues. But if I go back to my class, go to grades. So, all right. So like if I go to this assignment here and go to view statistics, it'll give you an overview of the assignment. You can look at that for all of them, and you can change if you're viewing by user. If you have your class in different groups, you could do that. But grade distribution, I love graphs and data, guys, so my nerd self is like, woohoo. But
this is nice. I like how.
yeah. So any other questions about grades?
No.
All right. Otherwise, then we will go ahead and go on to, if you're bringing a class over from Moodle, what that looks like. So let me open up the Moodle here. And go to a class. Okay, so when you're in your Moodle class, you're going to back up the course just like you do any other Moodle course or anytime you've done that in Moodle. So we'll go to the course management icon, the green gears. In this third column, we will select backup. And if you're going to include everything, you can. If you're like, I don't need quite all of this for my transition to Brightspace, or I'm going to go through and clean some things up, you can click next, and then you can choose which items you want. So like, maybe I don't want any of these, or maybe I'm not going to do this chapter. You could uncheck a whole, I could click the box, you could unclick a whole week or section at once. Whatever it is that you want to do. I'm going to hit the none button up here. That also has show type options. So I'm just going to select all of my assignments and all of my forums. And you could select like all of your quizzes. So you could select by type that way. If you're like, oh, maybe I'm switching to a new book next semester, so I don't need other pages or labels or things. But if you want everything, you can just hit that jump to final step, which makes it super easy. I'm just gonna select week 2 here. So that way it is a small file and will go quickly for us. So after you selected what you wanted though, you hit next. If you're at jump to final step, you're already at the end, so you don't have to do quite so much scrolling and hitting, but you'll double check that it selected what you wanted and perform backup. Then we will wait for our handy dandy file. So you'll get a notification with the green bar, hit continue, and then down here under course backup area, you will see your backup in this first row. So it says the course name in it because like it gives you all this junk at the beginning, but then it'll say your course name and you can check that it's from the time that you just did it, that it's today's date and time, and you'll hit download. All right, and then after you have that file wherever it is, I like to do them back to back like this because I like how Chrome leaves the file just chilling at the bottom of the screen there because it makes it easy to drag and drop onto the next piece. But you'll go back to your Brightspace. I'm actually gonna open, no. Yeah. Sandbox maybe. Well then I'm going to switch accounts quick so I can do it in my junk course and not my actual course. Not too many numbers. So, all right, so you will look at your course, and if we go to this content page, we can go to table of contents, and then you'll see right here it says import course. So I'll click import, copy existing course, obviously we will need in the future, but for now you'll just click import course package. If you were to look under this, what is supported, it specifically says here Moodle courses. So all you have to do is take that Moodle file, drop it in. Depending on how big your course is, this will take some time. And you also have the option here to go back and check if you want to import everything that you took out of Moodle. So like you may have gone through Moodle at the beginning and selected your items. If you want to double check it here, you can choose the advanced options button and see all of the things, or if you know it's everything you want, you can just hit import all. It will take a second to go through this process, and remember, once again, if it's a whole course with lots of things in it, whatever, it will take a minute. Yeah, that's where I was going.
So you can just, so from the download, you just, using the download, that's what you just did, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yep, just from the download. Not anything fancy. It gives you a note if you scroll down here. Your course is importing. It may take a few minutes. Great time to take a break.
So I shouldn't do this till the end of the semester.
Right, because you won't, anything that you change between now and then won't be in the import.
Okay.
But yeah, and I'm sure we'll hold some just like import work sessions at the end, just to be like, let's move your fall stuff into Brightspace so you have it.
Is it going to be like Moodle is now? Like I could see like, 2 or 3 years worth of courses if I wanted. Like each course will have a year, and if I teach the same course 3 times, it'll.
Yeah, that'll be on that My Courses widget on the home page that we looked at the beginning, where it said like fall 2020, then it'll also say fall 2021. Now, since we're just starting on Brightspace, you won't be able to see back. As Brightspace moves forward, you'll be able to see everything from now until whenever. So like
So from this fall. So next fall, this fall will be there if I do all this.
Yes.
Okay.
All right. So you'll see here it says uploaded, converted, imported. So it has import another package. So Theo, this is usually where you go for that third-party stuff. So McGraw-Hill probably has a course cartridge that they would give you, like a file that you would download somewhere, and you could like import your Moodle stuff, but then you could also import another package and do Brightspace, like the course cartridge for McGraw-Hill. Another nice thing that we have here then is review and manage dates. So as soon as you import your course, it gives you that option to review and manage dates. So you could look at it and you can see everything that you imported. You can filter if you just wanted to look at specific tools at one time, but if you wanted to do all of them. But you can check the box and hit bulk edit dates. So you could say for all of these assignments, I want the due date to be this. So if you have things separated by week, you could do that all. It also has this nice bulk offset feature. So this just shifts all of the dates for you. So bulk offset dates. So I want to offset all of the dates, and you could say calculate between 2 date ranges. So from whatever the start date was of, this semester, we could say, and here's the start date of the next semester. And it will shift all of your due dates for you. So that's fun.
That was fun.
But yeah, so that's it for the import process. Now if we actually take a second to talk about how you are going to build your course or looking at these things. All right, the trick for me is remembering that we have the content page, right? Which lists all of the content that you provide. If you have websites, if you make videos for them, if you post PowerPoints, like all of those content pieces are here on the content page somewhere, and that's where they live. if you have an interactive piece at all for the students, an assignment, a discussion, a quiz, a survey, they don't actually live on the content page. They live on the tools page. So if I were to go to discussions, this is what I mean by the tools page. So all of these other buttons. So this is the assignment tool page. This is the discussion tool page, the quiz tool page. And anytime that any of these items show up on the content page, it's really just a link to that tool, but it's a dynamic link, which means that if you update it, the content page will update with that link. If you change the name of it, the name will change on the content page. If you change the due dates, it will all be reflected in whatever shows on the content page. So the two approaches I have found to building are that either you are a content page person, meaning you go through and you like to build your course as you go along. Say like, here's week 1, and you can add directly from this page. So like in the upload create from this page, I can still create an assignment. I can still create a discussion, a quiz, all of those tools from the content page. The other option is that you're the person who says, I know what all of my major assignments are for this course. So you're going to go to the assignments page and build out all of your assignments at once. You can even have categories for your assignments and say like, these assignments are Excel practice assignments. These assignments are, I don't know, if you have a lot by chapter, you can sort them that way or by topic. So they can even be sorted here. And that's not associated with the gradebook categories. Those are just categories to sort your assignments. Or you say, you're the person who says, I know I'm gonna have these 10 discussion questions. And so you can go and set up all of your discussions. So it's up to you what approach you're gonna end up taking to build. If you're gonna go by tools, and then go just place them in content, or if you're gonna go and build them in the content as you go. Because once you're on the content page, that's why we have this upload create or existing activities. So the upload create says here, let's build a new assignment right here. Whereas existing activities, you can say, all right, I'm going to add an assignment that I already made. So let me go back into my class because I actually have stuff built. So it would, I think it will show more. But if I go to my content page, right, let me go down here in my fake week. So I'm the person that I went to my assignments and I built all of my assignments. So now if I want to put them on my content page, I just go to existing assignments, and then there's a list of all of my assignments. And I can say, this is the assignment that I want in week 1. And then I can click and drag it around. So, and if you are a Moodle import, I think it's, we had a couple people who did that for this semester, some of our early risers, and a couple of them said like their best bet was at the end, like, so they did their import and then they went through it tool by tool first. So they went to the assignments tool and looked at all of their assignments and made sure that their assignments were right and had the settings that they wanted them to have, or checked their due dates. Then they went to the discussions tab and said, let me reorganize my discussions, or let me make sure they're in the order I want them to be in, and did it that way. So a lot of it, I'm sorry if it seems overwhelming, but I promise when you're in there trying it yourself, it will help. And of course, if you have questions, you can reach out at any time, submit a help desk ticket, and me, Riley, or Margaret will get back to you.
Kat, if I have the same course, 2 sections of the same course, if I build it in one, can I easily copy that course into the next section?
Yes. So we will have on that table of contents page, when you have import course, you have copy existing course.
Okay, great.
So you'll be able to go and see from all of the things.
And I can do that a week at a time too, if I'm building it a week at a time?
Yeah, because it has copy components. So you could just build it all in one and then copy it to the other. We do also have learning object repositories, right? LORs. So eventually, if like you're teaching a section of a course and it's like a popular section, or not a popular section, that popular is the wrong word, but if it's like a big section and lots of people teach that course in a semester, we can make like a learning object repository for your department. And then when you build things, you can publish it to the learning object repository. So like we could make one for your department and you can publish it there, and then you as an instructor can go and search that repository and say, oh, somebody else already made a quiz for chapter 2. I'm going to use the same quiz as them, and you can import it into your course. So depending on what everybody's departmental needs are and such, we can build those as requested. So like right now we built one. Architecture has one because architecture already had 3 people that did Brightspace this semester. So they have a LOR set up that's just for them. So like they can share their items between each other, anybody who's teaching an architecture course. And the library has one. So the library is set up so the library people can publish things to it. But then us as instructors, if there's something that we needed, like they're putting different resources in there, like I'm sure one's going to be about like interlibrary loan. So like if we wanted to put a resource about that in our courses, we could just come here, search the repository, and put that in our course to like supplement a project or whatnot. Anyways.
Thank you.
Yes. Any other questions, guys? Or all right. Well, thanks for coming. And like I said, if you have questions as you start to explore, try things out, do not hesitate to reach out. And
All right.
have
Thanks,
a good
Kat.
weekend. You're welcome.
Jill.
Bye-bye.
Thanks. Bye.